When the Newmans corner Jordan, she goes to extreme lengths, and Sharon escapes the sewer. Nick asks Victor, who is staring out the entrance of the Newman property, what his sister and mother might be up to. Victor wishes he had known. He calls for an update because they are still on the property. He urges Nikki to come home right away after receiving her voicemail. There with awful news are Nick and Chance. Nick contacts Faith and tells her to keep the doors locked and stay at home. They wonder if Jordan has moved out of town. The detective maintains that they are following the book and that this is now police business. Before jogging out, he answers a call regarding an abandoned black truck and requests that they keep him updated. Victor affirms to his son that his days as a vigilante are far from ended, despite his assurances to the police officer to the contrary. He's resolved to deal with this outside of the police and in potentially illegal methods. Ian tries to reassure Tessa at society that he won't harm anyone else. She continues to believe that he lied and took advantage of her in order to harm the woman she loves. He is human and is attempting to make atonement even if he is aware that he may not be innocent. Even though not everyone sees it, his metamorphosis is true. Ian begs her to realize that her loved ones don't need to be afraid of him. He says that only Mariah can grant him the forgiveness his soul craves. His need for control and power had once taken over his life, but now he would sacrifice everything so that Mariah would forgive him. That's a lot to ask from someone who still prioritizes his wants over her wife's, Tessa believes. Ward maintains that he merely wants to demonstrate his transformation in order to liberate Mariah from the suffering of her early years. Tessa feels that she shouldn't be involved in this and is moving away from him. She feels as though she is betraying her wife by even speaking to him. She doesn't believe Mariah believes he has changed at all. He is not surprised by that. He claims that although Mariah has always been obstinate, she is also the most giving and supportive person he has ever met. He hates himself because he tried to destroy that goodness in her all those years ago. Mariah bursts in and asks to know Ian's purpose as he keeps pleading with her for assistance. He clarifies that he is merely attempting to mend their differences when she threatens to call the police. She declares that she will despise him till the day she dies, seeing him as pathetic and naive. She says she hopes Ian croaks and keels over, and orders him to avoid her and her family. Meekly, he leaves. Mariah has to lean on a chair in frustration. Tessa questions whether they are mistaken about Ward after Mariah tells her wife to call her if he ever gets in touch with her again. Ian might have changed. He has been speaking in a charming manner. She should quit, Mariah says. He uses all of this bullshit to entice people before he attacks. Tessa maintains that people can change, reminding her that they had done some pretty awful things too. Maybe, just for herself, Mariah could let the anger out? Everything is false, Mariah says. She doesn't want to start over and doesn't comprehend her wife's actions. Tessa clarifies that Ian's remarks include a tenderness, and Mariah is so furious that it might be best for everyone if they let it go. In the sewers, the fictional Nick is constantly telling Sharon to bear in mind the victories and fight with the same vigor. She is nearly at her home. As he keeps telling her to be strong, she murmurs, trying. Jordan claims that when Claire demanded that she stop drinking her tea at Victoria's, she became quite theatrical. It seems as though she is reconsidering something. The conversation returns to their strategy. Jordan is still reluctant to disclose to her niece the location of Sharon's stay. She must maintain that leverage. Claire jumps up when she gets to her feet and demands that she give her up. "Who are you to begin ordering me?" Jordan queries. Claire notes that it's likely that everyone is aware that she's missing. The police and the Newmans will therefore be looking for her. Her only option is to follow her instructions. Claire reminds her that they have more money than they could spend and the chance to get revenge. She only needs to give her access to Sharon's hiding place. She will take her aunt to the police if she doesn't inform her. Claire reminds her that her ass is on the line as they argue over their past. They can't proceed if they don't hide her trail. Jordan claims that the Newmans brainwashed her. Being around all of her newfound self-righteousness is positively unpleasant. Jordan can tell that her niece's assertion that she just sided with them to gain a point is untrue. She won't believe her when she says it was just agave and demands to know what she put in her tea. Jordan says she's going to leave as their argument gets more heated. Neither Claire nor Victor's thugs can stop her. "We'll stop you!" Nikki exclaims as she and Victoria appear out of nowhere. Claire reassures her aunt that she was directly involved in the scam. Jordan acknowledges that, like Claire, she has been careless and allowed herself to be duped by all of Newman's falsehoods. Victoria blurts out, "You crazy bitch, don't talk to my daughter like that." Jordan identifies the source of Claire's blood and claims that it contains more of her than her own mother ever will. It is demonstrated by the tainted tea. Jordan complains that she lacks courage and always flinches when Claire urges her to take a drink of the tea. Like they did last year, all three of these dames waste their chances. She always manages to get away despite having 9 lives. Jordan continues by saying that of all the people, Nikki was the simplest to control. According to Nikki, they are more powerful than before. Jordan laughs at that. Victoria believes she should be put out of her agony since she is a rabid beast. Nikki laughs that they could give her the tainted tea intravenously and adds that nobody will notice until it occurs. Claire assures her aunt that she came up with the entire scheme. Tessa apologizes to Mariah at society for causing her distress, but she accuses her of putting the psychopath's word over her own. Mariah asserts that Ian is incapable of fixing her and can only cause destruction. Tessa objects, all she was saying was how he seemed to her. She could have timed this better, according to her wife. While Sharon might be dead somewhere, she didn't need to be heard. Mariah yells, "I can't believe you would do this to me," and leaves while Tessa keeps apologizing. Mariah is irritated with Tessa YNR. When Nick encourages Sharon to go one step at a time into the sewers, she realizes that she can only succeed if he assists her. She gets up and begins to move slowly as he encourages her to leave the area in order to protect the people she cares about. She leaves slowly, sobbing that she must return home. Victor and Nick arrive at the tack house. "You just can't let me go, can you?" When Jordan sees her former adversary, she laughs. Victor believes she has nowhere left to hide. She asks Claire to clarify what she has because she is unsure. According to her niece, Jordan says she has Sharon somewhere. Jordan instructs Victor to put his son on a leash when Nick begins to snarl. Sharon, poor thing, is running out of time. She adds that Ian killed Heather and reveals that her partner stopped being trustworthy. They struck a lovely agreement that would reunite Claire in her life and Mariah in Ian's. Nick assumes they drugged Sharon as well. Jordan acknowledges that she was supposed to off the blondie, but she chose to hide her away in a secure location instead. She reiterates that Sharon doesn't have much time left and advises them to make her an escape offer if they hope to see her alive once again. She continues, "One you will honor this time." She provides them with information regarding Sharon's disappearance when they express skepticism. Claire assures them that she is speaking the truth and exhorts them to treat this seriously. Shivering, Sharon emerges from the sewers and staggers across the park. As she passes by, Mariah notices her and quickly runs to embrace her. Victoria returns to the tack house and begins to scold Jordan, saying that she should be put into a hole. "Believe me, lady, I would adore being left alone in a room with you." Jordan advises Beauty to use caution when making desires. "Tonight is when it all ends." "You're going to die tonight," says Victor. Jordan doesn't find it impressed. As Nick fidgets, she tells him that Sharon will also die if she does. Asking if Victor's kids and grandkids will pardon him for it, she flings that in his face. He reiterates, "You will end tonight." Jordan informs Handsome it's time to fold, claiming to have all the cards. She wants a large sum of money. He yells, "Oh baby, I've got lots of it," as he approaches her. This time, she doesn't want him to act like he's holding her captive. One of the women, perhaps. Perhaps Claire will offer to take her place, as Nikki has already had her. No one will accompany her, according to Nikki. Jordan tells them to comply with her demands and to stop wasting time. Mariah tells Nick she's located Sharon and that she's doing okay over the phone. I'm on my way, he says. After declaring that Sharon has been located, Nick leaves. Jordan swallows. Jordan is threatened by Victoria. YNR. Now, what do you have to negotiate with? Victor smirks at Jordan and asks. For you, it's all over. Jordan says she can provide Ian for them. For that, Victor doesn't require her assistance. Her aunt turns to Claire and inquires as to whether her ultimate goal was to capture her like an animal in a cage. I cherish you. I adore you very lot. Claire believes she has no idea what the word means. The end must come here for her. As they all watch, Jordan looks around, panics, snatches up the tea, and begins to guzzle it down. Next on The Young and the Restless, Billy begins a new chapter, Mariah discovers a startling discovery, and Victor doubts Nikki's judgment. Jordan goes to extremes when cornered by the Newmans, and Sharon frees herself from the sewer. Jordan had always thought he could outmaneuver anyone. A life built on cunning and manipulation had made him confident, perhaps too confident. But when the Newmans finally caught up with him, his world began to unravel. The Newman family, known for their resilience and ruthlessness, had decided it was time to settle the score. Meanwhile, far from the polished Newman estate, Sharon Newman was battling her own nightmare, trapped in a sewer, desperate to escape and reclaim her life. The Newman confrontation was inevitable. Victoria Newman stood tall, her piercing eyes locked on Jordan. She had always been the strategist, the one who knew how to corner her prey. Beside her, Nick Newman exuded quiet strength, his fists clenched as though he was holding back a storm. Adam Newman, ever the wild card, leaned against the wall with a smirk, but his eyes burned with barely contained fury. The three siblings were a united front, a rarity given their tumultuous history. They had one goal, make Jordan pay for what he had done. You thought you could steal from us and get away with it? Victoria's voice cut through the tension like a knife. Jordan's cocky demeanor faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered, plastering a smirk on his face. Steal? I prefer to call it leveling the playing field. Nick took a step forward, his jaw tightening. You put our family in danger. You crossed the line, Jordan. Adam chuckled darkly. And now you're cornered. Not such a smart move, was it? Jordan's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. The Newmans had anticipated this, they had chosen their battleground carefully. The room was small, with no windows and only one exit, which was firmly blocked by a towering Newman security guard. For the first time in years, Jordan felt truly trapped. Meanwhile, Sharon's situation was equally dire. The smell of the sewer was overwhelming, a mix of dampness and decay that clung to her skin. Her hands were scraped and bleeding from trying to claw her way out of the narrow, filthy tunnel. Every muscle in her body ached, but she refused to give up. Her mind raced as she replayed the events that had led her to this point. Sharon had been investigating Jordan for weeks, following a trail of deceit and betrayal that had led her to the heart of his operation. But she hadn't anticipated the trap he'd set for her. One moment, she was gathering evidence, the next, she was pushed into the sewer and left to fend for herself. Jordan had underestimated her, though. Sharon Newman was a fighter, and she wasn't going to let a little grime and darkness stop her. She felt along the walls, searching for anything that could serve as a foothold. The faint sound of water dripping echoed through the tunnel, a cruel reminder of her isolation. But then she heard something else, a faint, distant rumble. It wasn't much, but it was enough to ignite a spark of hope. Gathering her strength, Sharon pressed on, determined to find a way out. Back at the Newman estate, the confrontation escalated. Victoria stepped closer to Jordan, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You've hurt too many people, Jordan. It ends today. Jordan's bravado cracked. You don't scare me, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Good, Adam interjected, pushing off the wall and stepping forward. Because we're not here to scare you. We're here to make you pay. Nick crossed his arms, his gaze never leaving Jordan. You have two choices, come clean and face the consequences, or... Jordan interrupted, his desperation showing. Or what? You'll turn me in? Do you really want to drag your precious family name through the mud? Victoria's laugh was cold. Oh, Jordan, you've already done that for us. The question is, how much worse do you want to make it for yourself? Jordan's mind raced. He had always relied on his ability to talk his way out of trouble, but the Newmans weren't budging. For the first time, he realized he might have met his match. In the sewer, Sharon's determination paid off. She found a rusty ladder bolted to the wall. It looked precarious, but it was her only option. Taking a deep breath, she began to climb. The metal was slick and unstable, but she gritted her teeth and forced herself upward. Each rung brought her closer to freedom. As she neared the top, she saw a faint glimmer of light. Tears of relief filled her eyes, but she didn't let herself celebrate yet. She pushed the heavy manhole cover with all her strength, her arms shaking from the effort. Finally, with one last push, she emerged into the sunlight. Sharon collapsed onto the pavement, gasping for air. She was filthy and exhausted, but she was alive. And she had a renewed sense of purpose. Jordan had tried to silence her, but he had failed. Now, it was her turn to take the fight to him. Back at the estate, the tension reached its peak. Jordan made a sudden move, lunging toward the security guard in a desperate attempt to escape. But the Newmans were ready. Nick grabbed him, slamming him against the wall. Enough! Nick growled. You're done, Jordan. Victoria stepped forward, holding up a file. We have everything we need to bring you down. Your lies, your theft, your manipulation, it's all in here. Jordan's eyes widened. You don't understand. If you expose me, you'll be putting everyone at risk. There are people who won't let this go. Adam smirked. You mean your partners in crime? Don't worry, we'll deal with them too. Jordan slumped against the wall, defeated. He knew the Newmans wouldn't back down. His reign of deceit was over. As the Newmans secured Jordan's fate, Sharon made her way to the estate. She was a sight to behold, covered in grime and exhaustion etched on her face, but her eyes burned with determination. When she arrived, she found the Newmans standing over a subdued Jordan. Sharon? Nick's voice was filled with shock and concern as he rushed to her side. I'm fine, she assured him, her voice steady. But Jordan won't be when I'm through with him. Victoria's eyes widened as she took in Sharon's appearance. What happened to you? Sharon's gaze locked on Jordan. He happened. But he underestimated me, just like he underestimated all of you. Jordan's face paled as Sharon stepped closer. You thought you could bury me, Jordan. But you didn't realize I'd claw my way out. Nick placed a protective hand on Sharon's shoulder. He's finished, Sharon. We'll make sure of it. Sharon nodded, her resolve unwavering. Good. Because this is far from over. In the days that followed, the Newmans worked tirelessly to dismantle Jordan's operation. Sharon provided crucial evidence, her harrowing ordeal only strengthening her resolve. The family's unity proved to be their greatest weapon, and one by one, Jordan's allies fell. As for Jordan, he found himself alone, his empire in ruins. The man who had once believed himself invincible was now a shadow of his former self. And the Newmans? They emerged stronger, their bond unshakable. For Sharon, her escape from the sewer was more than just a physical triumph. It was a testament to her strength and resilience. She had faced darkness and emerged into the light, ready to fight for what was right. And as she stood alongside the Newmans, she knew that together, they could overcome anything.